So, Mr. DustyKatt, tell me what's on your mind.
Well, I don't really know how to start this. I'm kinda, well...
Just take your time, Dusty. Why don't you start at the beginning?
Sure. Well, I'm having a bit of trouble. Well, just being me, it seems.
In what way exactly?
Well, I love to entertain folks, and doing the charity auctions and the like, and Celestia knows I've gained a bit of a following because of it. But, well, some of the fans have been kinda pushy.
I'm sorry to hear that. How have you responded to these fans?
Well, I've tried to be cordial and nice to them. I do love my fans, but some of them have been really pushing my boundaries pretty hard, and I'm having a bit of trouble coming up with a nice way to tell them, I need my space.
I see. I suppose that you really hadn't expected yourself to reach this point then? Where the fans begin to overwhelm your time and patience?
Never. I never thought I would ever get to this point, I mean, I have a stalker for Celestia's sake. I had to get the Royal Guard at both Everfree Northwest and BabsCon to take this guy aside and talk to him. I was very nice to him the first couple of cons he was at, but he started to really creep out my girlfriend, And so I asked him myself to stop. Nicely, I might add. I told him he had his time with me, and it was time for other folks to see me, and that I would protect my girl at all costs, and to please move along. But he didn't.
Well, I can't say that I could relate to that kind of experience, though I've certainly had my fair share of fans who would dominate my free time if I allowed it. There are plenty of people out there who either want to feel important, or want to emulate your example, or even just want someone to talk to who shares their interests. Slowly but surely, I've been getting used to all this attention that I've never had before, but I don't suppose that I'll ever be fully prepared for it. Though I have been trying to answer questions and requests wherever I can, and I know that I've made a positive difference in the lives of many others. I hope that you've had at least a few similar experiences, Dusty.
Oh, there is no doubt that I've had many wonderful experiences with fans at all the conventions I go to, and even at brony meetups in the local area, or people that recognize me at stores, too. Heck, I even have a brony that comes to my work. His father buys Harley parts from me, but even he has pushed the envelope a bit. He came into the store the other day without his dad and just started talking with me about pony stuff right there at my Harley counter. I don't mind it usually when I'm not busy, and my workmates are okay with it. But it went on a bit too long to be comfortable,
Ah, yes. When does it become too much? At what point do we need to start following Fluttershy's example of kindness by being firm in the face of those who are taking advantage of our time and talents? I suppose that you and I can kind of relate to that specific episode a little more than most people. Though there are many who would say that fame comes with this consequence, that it is our duty and even privilege to spend time with fans whenever circumstances allow it. After all, you could even claim that our great power granted to us has given us an equally great responsibility to use that power for good purposes. And I can understand and even somewhat agree with those who would say such things. But when I have to choose between spending a few hours in a one-on-one conversation with a fan who pleads for my guidance and spending that same amount of time creating a video that will reach hundreds, if not thousands of others online, I believe that I'm doing the right thing by politely turning down those who would wish to dominate my free time. But it is still a hard choice for me to make, because I simply can't help everyone, and I have to be reminded of my own limits. However, that doesn't mean that I can't keep finding ways to improve and reach out to even more people in the future. I know that I began making videos in part because I wanted to be an example for others, and I'd better do my utmost to hold true to that goal. Do you think the reasons for doing what you do have ever changed over these past couple of years, Mr. Dusty?
Well, yeah. I started off just making fun videos to entertain people. Then I started singing show songs, and I did a bit of comedy. That got me my own show on a Brony network. That got me to Bronies React, and now I do a lot of charity work on top of all the things I did before. So yeah, you could say I was just as much of a fan as everyone else, but it became more as time went on. And trust me, I'm not complaining about it. I'm having the time of my life entertaining folks and helping others, doing panels at cons on bullying and all the charity auctions. But just maybe I've lost a bit of myself in all this. Because everything last year with my job and all the traveling and the show and all, I haven't ridden my dirt bike once in a year, and I loved riding my dirt bike. I did take that motorcycle ride up to Vancouver for a weekend, but I couldn't stay but 24 hours because of work and other things. Maybe I'm just losing myself.
Perhaps, but is the gain worth such a loss? Would you say that you are thinking and focusing more on others than yourself when you became horse famous, as you put it? Change is inevitable, Dusty. Growth is optional. I can remember a time before I spent the majority of my days devoted to making videos. I can remember needing that time spent alone in order to rejuvenate myself. I can remember thinking that I really couldn't handle daily life without all of those video games and TV. And yes, I did feel as though I was sort of losing a part of myself when I began devoting my talents for the sake of fans. But if I can make a real difference in the life of one person because of all my efforts, even just one, I feel that my life will be all the more worthwhile to have lived. The sacrifices can be great, more often than I ever would have realized. But maybe it really isn't up to me on how I can serve a greater purpose. Does that make sense to you, Mr. Dusty?
Some of it does. But what about the fact that if you lose who you were originally, then what about your own mental health? And what you feel inside? Helping others like you and I do is a wonderful thing. I know I love to do it. But if I'm not being honest with myself, and if my body and mind tells me to take a break yet I continue on, then am I not being dishonest with myself? And maybe in the end not giving those in need the very best of who I can be if I didn't take that break and recharge the batteries, as it were.
I've lost count of how many people tell me to take a break, honestly. And I suppose it's good to know that I have fans who encourage me not to overwork myself. But yeah, I guess I can't really know for certain whether I'm damaging myself in the long run, whether I'm overestimating my own limits. Perhaps you are correct, Dusty. Perhaps it would be best for the fans to better understand how much is too much when they interact with those they admire. But then again, perhaps we have yet to better know the reasons why we have what we have. And if we aren't challenging ourselves on a regular basis, then we may never reach that potential that's meant for us. Who knows? There really may not be a correct answer here. And I suppose it would be good for you to keep trying to find a better balance and recharge your batteries, as it were. Just keep in mind that you may as of yet learn of an even greater purpose in your future. Gotta be ready for that kind of opportunity when it comes, you know?
Yeah, I totally understand that. I guess, finding that happy medium between my personal time and my public time will only come if I start finding my limits and sticking to them. And maybe taking a night off for bass practice now and then.
Best of luck to you on that, Dusty. I look forward to hearing how you found a better balance in your work. Shall we continue on this next week?
I think I'd like that, Doc. I'll catch you soon. You got a favorite song I should practice?
I don't think they make Claire de Lune for the bass guitar, but I'm sure you'll come up with something, Mr. Dusty. Take care.
I will. And thanks again for listening. Living in the limelight, the universal dream, for those who wish to see him.
It's good to be helping.